Now, the Oklahoma City Thunder are coming off a magical season. I don't think people understand how impressive what they were able to do last year, given their circumstances. Now, last year, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they became the youngest team in NBA history to reach the #1 seed in either the Eastern or the Western Conference, and they also became the youngest team in NBA history to win a playoff series. So, hats off to the Oklahoma City Thunder, especially with how competitive the NBA is nowadays, how many great players there are, and especially how competitive it is in the Western Conference. Is truly, truly impressive. And we don't see young teams make that stride until we see them pick up a few veteran players. We see them pick up some guys that's been in the NBA for a long time, but still have some high quality level of play. The Oklahoma City Thunder, they were able to do that with all young guys, mostly young guys in their rotation. So very impressive. And then this offseason, and I think the Oklahoma City Thunder, given the team that they already had, I think it's very hard for me not to say that they had the best offseason with the acquisitions that they made. And I know it wasn't no big splashy moves. They didn't make a blockbuster trade, or they didn't go out and sign someone to a max extension, but I think they brought in some talent that is really going to put them over the top, and that's them coming off a fantastic season. And you guys see the title. I said the NBA is in trouble for letting the Oklahoma City Thunder add another dynamic playmaker, this particular dynamic playmaker to their squad. And before we get into that, I just want to point out that this team was already full of dynamic playmakers. We look at Chet Holmgren, what he can do defensively, protecting the rim, all the ground that he covers on the defensive side of the ball, being able to switch out onto the perimeter, even though that's not really the coverage that the Oklahoma City Thunder ran last year. He still has the ability to switch out onto smaller defenders, but he's such an elite shot blocker. He's mostly in the drop 99% of the time. And then also offensively, he's a unicorn. He can put the basketball on the floor. He can stretch out the defense. He has post game. He has footwork, and he's also a lob threat. So the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have a fantastic playmaker in him. They have another fantastic playmaker in J-Dub, Jalen Williams, what he brings to the table on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball. We saw a huge stride from him last season, going from his rookie year to his sophomore year. Can't wait to see what he got in store for his third season. We look at Gilgeous-Alexander, one of the best players in the NBA. He's not a dynamic playmaker. He's an elite playmaker, scoring the basketball, setting up his teammates, and he also he's so good offensively. People didn't notice how good he was last year. He's established himself as one of the best two-way players in all of the NBA. And the dynamic playmakers on the Oklahoma City Thunder, it goes beyond that. We look at Leauge Dort. Leauge Dort is really good at he does. And when we talk about someone being a playmaker, I know a lot of people think of Magic Johnson, they think of LeBron James, Stephen Curry, but there's just because the plays are not flashy and just because a guy isn't a superstar max player, there's still playmakers. And Leauge Dort, he brings so much to the table. Since he's gotten into the NBA, he's just gotten so much better at that three-point shot, and then he can literally lock down the opposing team's best player. 99% of the NBA opposing team's best player, they're gonna have some real trouble with Leauge Dort. And we look at what the Oklahoma City Thunder were able to do this offseason. I mean, you got to give it to them in their front office. They really hit it on the nail. I think in this video, enough being around the bush. This video is about Isaiah Hartenstein. I think the Oklahoma City Thunder getting him is going to unlock this team in so many different ways. But it would be a crime of me to not also mention Alex Caruso, who is also a dynamic playmaker. But I want to focus this video on Isaiah Hartenstein because Alex Caruso, and he's a great role player. Like, when you're looking for a role player, it doesn't get much better than Alex Caruso. But I feel like the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're just adding the cherry on top, getting Alex Caruso, because they already had Leauge Dort, a lockdown defender, a guy that can hit threes, and now they just added another one of those. And I know they have two different playing styles, but essentially they bring the same impact to the game of basketball. But Isaiah Hartenstein, he brings something that the Oklahoma City Thunder, he brings a bunch of things that this team does not have. So I think OKC getting Isaiah Hartenstein, I think it's gonna be it's gonna cause for the rest of the NBA and especially the Western Conference to be in some real trouble. And before we take a deep dive into Hartenstein and the impact he's going to bring for the Oklahoma City Thunder, I just want to point out one more time that last year the Oklahoma City Thunder, as one of the youngest teams in the NBA, which means they still have developing talent, they were able to be one of the best teams in all of the NBA, and they were able to be the #1 seed in the Western Conference, beating out teams like the Denver Nuggets, beating out the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Phoenix Suns, the Golden State Warriors, all of those teams with elite players. And now we look at the Oklahoma City Thunder, and one of their biggest weaknesses last year was their rebounding. They struggled rebounding. They kind of patched it up. The first half of the season, they were at the bottom of the NBA. Second half of the season, they were top 10 in the NBA in rebounding, but it was against weaker competition. And then in some games in the playoffs, we just seen them get absolutely destroyed on the board. So the Oklahoma City Thunder this offseason, they went out and got one of the best rebounders in the game of basketball, Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, Hartenstein, like what we said earlier, he's not Shaq, he's not Shaquille O'Neal, he's not Joel Embiid, he's not Jokic, but he is a playmaker, and I think he is a very, very dynamic playmaker. And I think so far in the preseason, he has looked terrific in this Oklahoma City uniform with all of this spacing. I think it's going to be a terrific season for him. But I think that's one area where Isaiah Hartenstein, where his rebounding can create so many different plays. Now, as we got, if you watch basketball a lot, and if you're just starting to watch basketball, we all know as you get closer to the end of the season, the competition picks up, the game kind of slows down a little bit, especially when you get into the playoffs and you get into these half-court sets. You're spending a lot more time in the half court. It makes rebounding so much more important, and we saw it last year in the playoffs with the Oklahoma City Thunder against the New Orleans Pelicans. Even though they swept them, and then against the Dallas Mavericks, there was some games where they struggled on the board. And Isaiah Hartenstein, he's going to erase that problem for the Oklahoma City Thunder. And what you got to love is that you're going to be able to play him alongside Chet Holmgren. We've already seen a few possessions or a few stints with Chet Holmgren and Chet Holmgren and Hartenstein playing alongside each other, and I think that's going to be a terrific front court duo this upcoming season. But Isaiah Hartenstein is one of the best rebounding centers in all of the NBA, especially on the offensive glass. And with him being able to rebound the basketball so well, and we look at all these weapons he has to kick it out to, all of these shooters he has to kick it out to Chet Holmgren, kick it out to Lou Dort, kick it out to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Isaiah Joe, all of these shooters that the Oklahoma City Thunder have. He's going to be able to suck up these rebounds and create a bunch of plays off of them. So that's one thing. That's one area I'm looking at from Isaiah Hartenstein. And then there's another way that this guy is so good and is so underrated when it comes to him making plays. We look at his screen, and I'm going to group these two things together. We look at his screen setting and his ability to pass. And we seen this, I first started to notice this, I'll be honest. I didn't watch too much of the New York Knicks throughout the regular season, but when the playoffs are on, I'm not missing a single game. And one action that was just so solid for the New York Knicks was their dribble handoff. And a huge part of it, this is not something that they really run with Mitchell Robinson that often, but a huge part of that was Isaiah Hartenstein, because he's such a terrific screen setter, and he's also a outstanding passer. This already in the preseason with the Oklahoma City Thunder, he's made some crazy passes. He's already had a game with 7 assists, and he's still learning his teammates. He's only been there for about, the offseason started about 3 months ago, so he hasn't been there for that long, but the synergy and the chemistry is already building really well. But his ability to read how the defense is defending the dribble handoff, if the big is all the way up, if the big is back, he knows when to give it, he knows when to give the ball up, he knows when to roll off of it, he knows when to fake the handoff and to make a pass. He just can do so many little things out of that dribble handoff that's going to be so terrific. And think about all the weapons that all the weapons that the Oklahoma City Thunder, all the guys that they have that can run this action. They can run this action. The screens are so effective. They can run this action with just about any ball handler on their team, and I think it's going to benefit Isaiah Joe the most. Isaiah Joe, now, I don't know what it is. Whenever I'm watching the Oklahoma City Thunder regular season, whatever, I see Isaiah Joe shoot the ball. This guy does not miss. So imagine him coming off those Isaiah Hartenstein screens, those dribble handoffs, how that's going to open up the Oklahoma City Thunder offense even more. So, so those two things right there, the screen setting, the dribble handoffs, and the ability to pass is going to be outstanding. And then one more thing, the lineup versatility that he's going to add to the Oklahoma City Thunder. Like we said, we've seen a small sample size so far of him playing alongside Chet Holmgren, but those two guys looked really good together. So they will have the opportunity to go big. They will have the opportunity to play him at the 5 by himself, and then they will also have the opportunity to put him on the bench and still have Chet Holmgren at the 5 with Alex Caruso in the game. So they're gonna have so much lineup so many fluid lineups, and then also so much lineup versatility. So I think Isaiah Hartenstein, based off what we've seen so far in the preseason, the Oklahoma City Thunder getting him and Alex Caruso, and then added it to one of the best young teams in NBA history, I think the Oklahoma City Thunder are going to be very, very dangerous this upcoming season. But that's what I wanted to talk about with you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate it if you leave a like, subscribe, and then also comment how you're feeling comment how you're feeling in the comment sections, and then there's curtains.